Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today it's time to look at the Benchmade 560 Freek. Alright friends, this is the Benchmade 560 Freek, the newest entry from Benchmade in their everyday carry category. And our background today comes from the 400-pound gorilla. It's one of his handmade hanks that I won in one of his contests from President's Day recently. I thought it was rather fitting for a Benchmade. Anyhow, on to the Freek. The Freek is a very Griptilian-esque model. And what we get here is a dual durometer handle. And what that means is we got two different hardnesses of material here. The black, dark gray black material is more of a rubbery feel, and the gray material is pretty hard. And as normal with Benchmade, we get good hardware, and we get our axis lock, and we get a pretty good sized lanyard hole down here. And we also get our thumb studs, which happen to have T6 torque recessions in them so that you can take the thumb studs off for sharpening or whatever else you may need. As we roll around the back, we can see that we've got very Griptilian style construction. It's two clamshell halves that come together and leave about a little less than half of it open with our jimping right across here. As we roll around the other side, this one comes stock with a split arrow pocket clip in the standard Benchmade configuration to step up left or right hand, and we have kind of the sunken down in pivot sleeve head right here, and it all looks pretty darn good. Roll around to the top. This is one of the best parts. We have a pretty darn well centered Benchmade straight out of the factory. As you guys know, if you watch the unboxing, I have had it apart, but I have not cleaned up, polished any bushings, any of that. So this is just from the factory in use, and it's well centered and well done all together. And just for some size comparison, we've got, of course, our Buck 110, and really in size they're fairly comparable, but the Benchmade weighs a lot less. And our Rat Model 1, same thing here, very comparable in size, but the Rat Model 1 weighs a lot more. And of course our Spyderco Delica, which is obviously smaller. So let's get a look at that blade. And the blade is a departure from Benchmade for their what would be an entry-level Benchmade knife. Instead of being 154 cm and kind of soft, this stuff is S30V, and it's some pretty darn good S30V. I've used it a fair amount, and it seems to hold an edge well and doesn't get too chippy. And of course I've sharpened it, but the stock edge was in pretty darn good shape, and we get a really high flat grind. We get well done here at the heel of the blade where our sharpening choil would be. It's nice and flat there. Could have been done just a wee bit better, but we're not going to fuss much because that still comes out really nice. And it's a drop point in that Doug Ritter style, like the Doug Ritter Griptilians. A little larger than the Griptilian blade, but very nice. And as we can see here, this is one of the first production blades. Not that that makes a lot of difference. I just wanted to get in early on these to check on the quality of the 2017 Benchmade, since they made that commitment to prune their line down a little bit and focus more on quality. I wanted to see if they'd actually done it, and so far it looks like they have. And from here we're going to go to that pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, some things we forgot there at the beginning talking about this dual durometer handle. We've got a closed length of about 4.86 inches and a kind of a thick handle thickness at 0.65 and a closed height of 1.43. So this is no small knife by any means, but it has its reasons for that, and as we get into ergonomics in a moment, we'll look at that. First off, though, the pivot is your standard Benchmade pivot, which means we've got a sleeve and torque screw, and then we've just got phosphor bronze bushings down in there, and then our axis lock, and it works great. It is a very smooth pivot for a brand new knife. Now this one has been used some, but it's not been used extensively, and it works really, really well. And of course our lock mechanism is the axis lock. Works just like any other axis lock, and it works extremely well. And into the Levi's we go with our Freek 560, and we get our standard Benchmade raise here, 3/4 of an inch or so, and the nice clip, and it's really about it. It is just a big knife. It's got a little bit of knife sticking out, but I've carried it quite a bit, and it doesn't seem to be one of those that gets caught on everything. I wish I could do some kind of scientific study, and maybe I should start keeping track to find out which one of these knives and why they get caught on things, because it really doesn't seem to matter the amount sticking up. It seems to matter the shape right here as to what gets caught on things and what doesn't. This is one that thankfully doesn't get caught on things. So there you go. That is the 560 Freek down in the pocket. Now moving on to ergonomics, that's one thing that Benchmade does differently than many of the other companies whenever we're talking about your EDC knife. They don't put an emphasis on the knife being thin. They don't put an emphasis on the knife weighing nothing. They put an emphasis on the knife fitting your hand. And that's what we get here. We've got a 3.7 ounce knife, which is pretty light, but it's thick at that 0.65 for this thickness here. But you lay your hand in it and grip this guy, and everything just fits. And it fits no matter how you get a hold of it. One of those things the Benchmade does well, this shape right here allows you to cup your thumb over it if you need to do this, or you need to get it like this. It's those things the Benchmade thinks about that some other knife companies don't. They get caught up in design, appearance, and they skip on those things. Then we look at a Benchmade like this Freek or like a Griptilian, and we go, well, that's not all that pretty a knife, but you've got to put them in your hands, because putting them in your hands is where especially the Griptilian and this Freek really stand out. This VersaFlex, they're calling it, the dual durometer handle, feels really nice. Now that is a question mark. How well will that work out? Because if you take this thing apart, what we've got is this harder material is making up the structure of the knife, and then the softer material is laid over that and adhered to it in some manner. So that may be a problem in the future, but it's a Benchmade, so we've got that Benchmade warranty to back us up in case we do have problems with that. Now as far as opening and closing and whatnot, it's a Benchmade, thumb flick, you're in. Pull back on that axis lock, give it a little flick, and it's closed. So classic Benchmade axis lock there, works just fine and maintains its center like we talked about earlier. The only oddities and weird stuff I can come up with, and I don't understand why Benchmade continues to do this, is the liners stop just past this screw right here. They're thick, heavy liners. If you go back to the unboxing video, we got to look at that. They are big, heavy liners, and they could have thinned them out just a little bit and ran that liner a little further down the knife like they do with the Mini Griptilian, and possibly had a more structurally sound knife. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case, if it really would be more structurally sound. I haven't seen too many Griptilians that have broke off right here at the end of the liner, but some people don't like that and would like to have a full liner. And I'm kind of with them. They could thin that material out, extend the liner down some, not add much weight, if any, and possibly have a more structurally sound knife. Not that this one isn't. I have used it to do quite a bit of stuff, and I have had zero problem with it, and I've really enjoyed this high flat grind on this Ritter style blade. Anyhow, we're going to kick it back out to the desk, talk about this knife a little more, and then we're going to talk a little about maybe where this fits in the Benchmade lineup or what Benchmade may be setting up to do. Alright guys, so that was a look at the 560 Freek. And it's a great one. You know, at its price point of around 110 to 120 bucks on the street, you're getting S30V, you're getting classic Benchmade construction. The only major question is this dual durometer or VersaFlex handle, but with Benchmade's warranty, I don't think that's a big deal. Even if we do end up getting some separation between the two materials, Benchmade's going to back it up. They're going to take care of you. So I'm not worried about that like some people have said. And to get that Ritter blade in a good steel and get a great action, 120 bucks is just a pretty good deal. Now, if you came here just to see about the knife, well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to know what my opinions are about the future with this model, hang out for a minute. Benchmade has given us a lot of what people have asked for with the Griptilian. A standard model right out of the Benchmade catalog with the Ritter blade. The really high flat grind and that big bellied blade. No one, I don't think, really asked for that dual durometer handle, but it comes out nice. And they've upped the quality. And they've come in at a reasonable price for Benchmade. You know, this one I think was 110 bucks. So where does that leave us? You know, I have some theories. One theory is that Benchmade is going to try to bring out a new line, which this would be the first one of, and then we'd get a mini like the mini Griptilian, and then that would be the end of it. But the more interesting theory that passed through my mind is with the Freek and the higher blade steel at approximately the same price, you know, within a few dollars of the Griptilian, maybe Benchmade is setting up to put the Griptilians, the base model Griptilians with 154 cm and the whatever they're calling it this week handle, basically glass-filled nylon. Put that model at a lower price point. And of course that's the more interesting theory and maybe even the more probable one. I don't know. But I think it would be a good move on Benchmade's part to leave these Freeks with an MSRP of 100, 110 bucks and move that Griptilian, the big Griptilian, move it down to say 80. And move that mini Griptilian down to say 65 or 70. Make the mini Griptilian a direct competitor with the Spyderco Delica, and make the full-size grip a direct competitor with many knives in that right around $80 price point, with approximately the same materials, but USA made with that Benchmade warranty. And I think that would work well for Benchmade if they can keep the quality control up, which it appears they've done with the Freek, and maybe they will with the rest of their 2017 models, and maybe they'll bring that stuff to the older models as well. Anyhow, those were my theories. We'll see what comes to fruition. I don't have any insight, didn't talk to anybody at Benchmade or anything about that, but anyhow, the Freek, guys, it's gonna be a good one, I think. And you guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.